everybody, it's Nathan, and I'm back with another commentary video, this time for Northtown in Pflugerville, Texas. Some people call it Stoney Creek Park. I think that's the official city name, but everybody just calls it Northtown. This is a pretty advanced course, more for advanced and open players. You get a lot of more casual players here too. They're just going to take more strokes. This is a park style course, and you will have other park goers there, so you just got to be on the lookout for that. But yeah, this is a pretty fun course. You should come out and play it sometime. By the way, I reached out to David Smith, who's a pretty well-known player out in the Round Rock and Pflugerville area, and got some of his insight for some of the right-handed lines, which I don't know quite as well here on this course. So we'll have that as I go and discuss each of the holes. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, so if you've ever seen one of my videos before, you'll know I like to talk about the ideal way to play a hole for birdie. And so right here off the bat, hole 1 here is kind of a controversial hole in the local disc golf community. I think UDisc listed it at a 4, but the T signs and pretty much all the locals consider this a 3. But if you get a 2 on this hole, you're the man. It is 580 feet, pretty open, so left-handed, right-handed, it doesn't really matter, but you just got to go 580 feet in one shot. Not many people can do that, so you're probably either getting a throw in or taking a par. Alright, so hole 2 for most players that are right-hand backhand is going to be a big sky anhyzer over to the right, probably with a distance driver. You can get there in one, but you need quite a bit of glide and quite a bit of turn over to the right. There is a flick option if you kind of throw a power flick and get some skip out of it at the end. For left-handed players like me, it's just a huge backhand hyzer bomb that needs to finish to the right. So it's definitely reachable in one, but it's by no means an easy hole, and I'd say that's kind of a theme here at Northtown. Things are reachable, but nothing is easy. Alright, hole 3, you're going to have a few options, but all of them are hard. So you might want to even rewind this particular hole to look at what I'm talking about. I think probably the line that's the most open is going to be over the trees on the left side, which for right-handed players is going to be a huge anhyzer line. There is kind of a hyzer line also that goes over the dog park on the right side, but you can see there's these guardian trees here that are kind of protecting it, and that's going to require quite a bit of distance. The safe shot is to really go straight up the middle in the gap, but if you do that, you're probably playing for par. Of course, left-handed people can do a big hyzer line over the left side, and that's how I play this hole. But again, all of those shots require a lot of distance outside of the safe play up the middle. Alright, hole 4, right before we get too far off the tee box, there is a local route that goes down the right side through the trees. You probably get there with a hyzer flip or a low mid-range shot. But the more typical play is going to be out here over on the left side. And for right-handed people, that's going to be a forehand, or for left-handed people, just a normal backhand shot. Probably skip down to the basket, or even an air shot. I use a Firebird or a Destroyer, and it's not too hard to get there. Alright, so hole 5 is, guess what? A challenging hole. You're going to have to throw some kind of a turnover, either kind of a hyzer flip that's going to turn over late after you pass these trees, or maybe something like an eagle where you can throw a high and hyzer turnover, something that's going to flatten out towards the end. Once you get over here on the right side is where the basket is going to be. However, if you go too far to the right, there's actually a creek over there, and it tends to be pretty murky, so you might not get your disc back. So that's the play if you want to do this one. All right, so hole 6 I'm going to call deceptively difficult. First off, it's a little bit uphill, so the tee pad is a little awkward, and then you're going to have all of these guardian trees just right off the tee pad. So probably again the most open shot is going to be over the left side, which is going to be kind of a sky anhyzer for most people. There's sort of a flick route also if you have a really strong power forehand, or a hyzer flip under the trees off the tee pad, which you can get some skip on. I'm lefty. I'm going to go on the sky route over on the left side. All right, so hole 7 is a little intimidating, but I think this is a really fun hole. First off, you have this really, really long tunnel shot, and this is going to be a par 4, so don't be worried about getting there in one. But your first shot needs to be really, really long and really, really straight. And you're going to see as we get closer up here, and I got to be honest, my drone misses this line slightly. Sorry. But there's going to be a couple of trees up here with some yellow markings, and you kind of want to be going through those trees. So it's actually the trees just to the right of where my drone is. That's kind of the left side, and then you can see the trees over there on the right. That's kind of the right side of the gap. That's where you want to get to, and then you can just push a putter or a mid-range right up here through this. Another way to play it is you can kind of throw a big driver and kind of crash in from the top. All right, so if Northtown is getting you down, then hole 8, you will probably welcome the respite, because all you have to do is just throw a putter or something about 150 feet and just nestle it under the basket. There's really not much danger on this hole. Keep it off the walking path and don't go too far because there's a creek behind you. Watch out for snakes and take your birdie. All right, hole 9 I think is bonkers. So I'm going to talk about this hole 2 ways. Left-handed, I'm throwing something really, really touchy here, like a comet, and I'm just trying to get right over this little ditch crevice that you can see to try to get into the open area here. And my second shot is going to be from here up over the trees like a huge hyzer bomb. But if you're right-handed, then you probably want to be aiming for about here. With the destroyer or something, you want to shoot something really strong out of the first opening gap and try to play for just short of the creek. So then from here you can punch something up the gap to get to the basket. Now this is a very challenging hole. You got to play it differently, probably right-handed or left-handed, and if you birdie it, you're great. All right, so hole 10, you have a few options. First I'm going to point out is through the trees on the left side, there is kind of a backdoor gap that way if you're left-handed, or I guess if you have a really strong forehand. I think the more typical play is going to be the low hyzer route right up the fairway. There's a little bit of a high hyzer route as well, but that's going to require some more flex and it's a little touchier. This hole is reachable in one, but it's definitely kind of a smash, and there's a lot of trees that you're going to potentially run into along the way. I will point out also that the basket is on a little bit of a drop off, so be careful. All right, so hole 11 is a really interesting, kind of challenging hole. I think they actually listed this as a par 5. I don't know if I'd really call it a par 5. It seems like more of a par 4 to me. But either way, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. Really, I don't think that there's much of an option to go over the top here. Everything's really grown in and there's a lot kind of in your way. So you're just going to need to go straight up the gap. You're trying to get in between these trees here and just keep making forward progress. I think you ought to be able to take a couple of mid-range shots and get them up through these holes as long as you can throw straight. But you're going to want to finish to the right late, whether that's an anhyzer or a hyzer flip turnover. And then the basket is going to be over here on the left side. So really challenging, but I think well-designed hole. All right, so if Northtown's getting you down, you're going to like holes 12 and 13. This is an emotionally uncomfortable shot because you're going to have to throw over water. But honestly, it's like a 200-foot shot with a putter. And as long as you can just keep it straight and don't hit any dumb trees, then you're going to be totally fine. Anybody that's playing a tournament here is probably not going to have problems with that shot. So yeah, if you like hole 12, you're really going to like hole 13, because there's really nothing in your way. You can just decide if you want to go around the pole in the distance or inside the pole, and it's 200 feet right up to the basket. There is a creek kind of on the left side, but that shouldn't be in play for most people. If you do find yourself in there, you could be in water. All right, so hole 14 is another emotionally uncomfortable shot, which should be reachable, but it does have a little bit of teeth. I think the hole is 330 feet, and you're gonna have to pretty much carry over this pond the entire way, except that 330 feet really isn't that bad for most players. And you're gonna have this little hill to crash into at the end, so you've kind of got that safety net. You do have a little bit of chance of roll away, but I think you'd rather be at the bottom of the hill putting up than at the top of the hill putting down with kind of a death putt. All right, so hole 15 is pretty well guarded on the left side. There's going to kind of be a hyzer flip up the middle, or a little bit of a power play if you're really trying to go right at it. But I think the more typical play is going to be more of a wide skip hyzer, or maybe even a wide air shot. There's a few different ways to get there. They're just all well guarded, so you kind of have to play your luck a little bit. Okay, hole 16. This one's pretty easy. It's relatively short. You just want to throw something flat and finish with the hyzer, maybe a little hyzer flip. There is a low ceiling to contend with, but if you're throwing right hand, backhand, this should not be a very difficult shot. Left-handed, I've been able to get a hyzer flip up there, and now that my forehand's better, I can just forehand out there and get it. All right, so if you're right-handed, you get a lot of options on 17, and they're all hyzers. So either a straight hyzer, a high-wide hyzer, or spike hyzer. You're talking about going 350 feet and ending up on the left side, so it's almost like a stock shot with minor distance. Left-handed, I don't think I have an option here other than just to throw a big turnover, which is a much touchier shot, but it's reachable. I think I use a T-bird on this shot. All right, so hole 18 is an extremely soft par 4. It actually shapes perfectly for a left-handed hyzer flip that finishes back to the right, but even right-handed, a hyzer flip is a pretty good option. You at least have the chance of sneaking through those trees over on the right side. Otherwise, as long as you make that first gap, you're probably going to have a chance to push through and get to the basket for 3. So I think it's a pretty soft par 4 and even an eagle opportunity. All right, so that's Northtown. I think it's a pretty awesome park style course. Definitely a lot of challenging holes that are going to want to make you keep coming back to try to figure them all out, and one that gets a lot of traffic in the area, and deservedly so. I think open players are probably going to be shooting for 50 or less here, but you shouldn't be disappointed with whatever score you pick up, no matter what. And yeah, hope everybody likes these commentary videos. I'll keep trying to make more of them, and hopefully you get out there and play some disc golf. All right, thank you very much. We'll see you soon.